Hi, I'm Stephen with AlbertaUrbanGarden.ca. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's finally summer, and the summer heats have arrived. We usually find ourselves in one of two situations. We have an excess amount of precipitation, or like this year, we've had very little precipitation and very high heats. So today, I thought I'd go through a number of tips that I use in my garden in order to conserve water through the summer heat. The plants in your garden need water to move nutrients into the plant, to help with the structure of the plant, and water is essential in photosynthesis. Needless to say, water is very important. A lack of water can cause damage or death of the plant relatively quickly. Tools I find rather helpful to manage my water is a water meter and a rain gauge. My rain gauge helps me get an idea of the amount of precipitation that has occurred to see if I actually need to water or not. If I do need to water, the meter lets me see what the moisture levels are like lower in the soil. It may be the case that the surface is dry, but the plants have access to water below the surface of the soil. When watering, the right time of day is really important. Watering during the heat of the day will result in much more evaporation and slow the water's ability to soak deeper into the soil. Watering during the morning while it's cool will help prevent these losses. If you happen to be in an area of high humidity, watering at night is generally not recommended, as it's said to accelerate disease issues. When soil is dry, it can be what's called hydrophobic, which means it's resistant to soaking up that water initially. If you water too quickly, the water will actually find a preferential pathway outside of the soil and not actually get soaked up. So make sure when you do water to water slowly and deeply. Watering slowly over a longer period of time, the water is able to soak up into the soil, getting deeper while wasting less. You can stop watering and prevent overwatering when your water meter indicates the moisture has soaked in a few centimeters or inches. If you don't have a water meter, you can stick your finger into the soil. If the soil sticks to your fingertip, it's most likely wet. I use recycled water as much as possible. I collect rainwater, and if I have any cold coffee or tea in the house, I'll use that to water my plants. Now that we've discussed when and how to water your garden, let's discuss keeping the water in the soil so that your plants can use it. You can do this a number of different ways. I use mulch and dense planting to help conserve water in my soil. You can also plan your garden so that it gets afternoon shade from a building tree or shade cloth. The soil below the mulch can also be built to help hold water. Compost is a great way to add nutrients to your soil, but it's also a great way to add absorbent materials that will help hold nutrients and water in place. Compost made of wood chips will leave behind a substance called humus, which is very good at absorbing and holding water. Now there are other products out there, however I prefer wood chips as they're often available locally and at no cost. Self-watering containers are a great way to conserve water. They have a reservoir of water below the soil. The capillary action in the soil wicks the water into the rooting zone as it's needed, helping to reduce the evaporative losses at the surface of the soil. When it rains, the same reservoir can be filled by the container as it drains out of the soil, helping to reduce runoff losses. If you live in an area that has drought conditions more often than not, you may want to focus your efforts on plants that do well in drought conditions, as opposed to ones that need more water. For instance, you can avoid crops like beans and corn that require a lot more water, and focus on drought-tolerant plants like grapes or garlic. Some plants can be planted in a manner that allows them to be more drought-tolerant. Members of the nightshade family, like potatoes and tomatoes, can be planted deeper into the soil. They will sprout new roots from their covered stalks, while leaving the main root ball lower in the soil, able to access deeper water reserves. Keeping on top of weeding will also help, as they will compete for water in the rooting zone, and once pulled, you can add them to the mulch layer to further reduce evaporation and recycle their nutrients. Other gardening methods are said to use just a fraction of the water when compared to traditional soil gardening. Hydroponics and aquaponics are closed systems recirculating the water a number of times. Whether you're in a drought or just trying to get through the heat of summer, these methods will help you conserve water. Conserving water to me is very important, as it helps me reduce the footprint and cost of my garden. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you for spending time with me today. I appreciate it very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.